We are almost there.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Is it okay for you?
Yeah.
If not, let me know and we can stop the YouTube live connection. Give me a sec. There, yeah, sorry. Okay, then we're almost ready to begin. Most people connect through YouTube. That's why we do that also. Some people do not use Zoom, do not like Zoom. That's why we use that tool. So if you're okay with it, we can start. So we don't take a lot of time of your night, and you can go and rest. Uh, First of all, welcome everybody that's gonna be connected live, or the ones that are gonna revisit the video or the information later. My name is Nina. I am the director and co-founder of Filminist. Filminist is a film festival. It's not about competition. It's a film festival that celebrates women within the industry. It doesn't matter the country, the age, or the role. We want to build a platform where every woman just shares their perspective of the world, and Filminist is a safe space for that. Today, Virtual Talk is brought to you by Filminist and also La Brújula. Brújula is our main partner. For 14 years, they have dedicated themselves to bringing together people, companies, and institutions of the audiovisual and cinematographic medium in Mexico, so that you can find them in just one place. And well, saying that, I want to explain what this dynamic is. We call this Filminist Virtual Talks or virtual conversations. Each month or every 2 or 3 months, we invite women within the industry from around the world to share their perspective or their career or their experiences. And today, we are more than pleased to share a woman that I've been investigating a lot, their interviews and her story. She's an extraordinary woman that as soon as she read my mail, she gave a beautiful reply, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here, to host you here. Her name is, let me see if I pronounce it correctly, Dina Naser. Is that okay? Oh, that's fantastic. She's a Jordanian-Palestinian director and producer. She was awarded at the Dognamat Scholarship in 2013 to pursue a master's degree in documentary filmmaking. In 2012, she began filming her debut feature documentary, Tiny Souls, which is a beautiful film, which follows the lives of Marwa, is that well pronounced? Correct. In the Zaatari Refugee Camp in Jordan over a span of 5 years. Tiny Souls premiered in 2019 at CPH Docs and was selected for festivals such as Sheffield DocFest, IDFA, Doc Leipzig, and Busan. The film won the Human Rights Film Award at Dokufest and the Sunbird Award for Best Documentary Feature at the Palestine Film Festival, among other accolades. Dina also directed the award-winning short film 1 Minute, a sound-driven piece depicting a woman's life in Gaza, during the 2014 attacks. Dina's most recent work is Sukun, or Amplified, which had its world premiere at Berlinale's Generation K+ 2024 and received a Special Mention Award and the Black Bear Award for Sound Design and the Athens International Film plus Video Festival. In 2017, here you're gonna have to help me pronounce, Dina founded a multimedia production company called
Med Mushawish.
Oh, thank you. With the vision of reflecting reality and expanding fiction through the producing artistic and experimental projects. In 2019, Dina co-founded
Rawiyat,
a new collective of female filmmakers from the Middle East, North Africa, and the diaspora joining forces to imagine a new landscape in the region and beyond. With less words to say from my end, welcome, Dina. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nina, for hosting me. And thank you for this beautiful introduction. I really feel happy and safe in your space. And I look forward to continue this conversation.
Yes, of course. Well, if you're okay, we can start a little bit with your story. I've been reading some interviews because, of course, some are in English, some I do not understand. I've been listening to some interviews you've done and posts and everything. I've been doing a big research. And I wanted to ask you, let me just, that's okay. I wanted to ask you if you can please share a bit about your childhood story. Who was Dina as a kid? Because all your stories have something in common that are stories about survival and a lot of strength. And if you could share a little bit about your story, who were you a few years back?
Okay, well, I was born in Kuwait. I come from a Palestinian family who were displaced in 1948 when the Israeli invasion happened to Palestine. And my parents got displaced for a few years inside Palestine until they managed to get out and seek refuge in Jordan. And my grandfather, to protect my father, because he was captured by the Israeli army in Palestine, he sent him to Kuwait to start his life. And this is how he met my mother, and I was born in Kuwait. And then the Iraqi war happened, so we had to move again. And I spent part of my teenage years in Saudi Arabia, and then we moved back to Jordan. And then I went to Europe to do my studies for 3 years. And then I was traveling around trying to explore the world and see where I fit in, since I always felt like I don't have one place or one country that I feel like I belong to. I feel always that I belong to the world, or where I feel safe, basically. My childhood was very funny period of my life. I used to play a lot and dance a lot, and like any happy child, that was the kind of the best years of my life, I would say, enjoying every piece of it and every moment of it. And I think also my connection to art started from dancing. And that's how I felt like I'm more closer to this world. And of course, I used to watch a lot of Bollywood films, since that was kind of the TV broadcast in Kuwait was a lot of Bollywood films, a lot of dance, a lot of fun films, a lot of entertainment. And I think that was kind of stayed in my subconscious in a way. And until I grew up, I wanted to study cinema. And I knew that I wanted something related to this kind of moving image that was printed in my childhood, in my memories. But when I arrived to Jordan, I was searching for cinema schools, but unfortunately there was none. So I chose to the closest thing that I could study, which was a bit a fixed image graphic design. So I started from that place, but eventually it wasn't a space for me because I still was stuck in this static image that I felt always that I need more emotions, I need more dynamics, I need more uh, um,
Action, movement.
action, like beyond this fixed frame. So I worked a little bit in the graphic design, and I knew like this is not my thing. So I started to search more to what really I desire. So by coincidence, I found myself working in a production company where I got the chance to be exposed to different kind of productions, to different departments. And there I found a window for me to get closer to what I want. And I knew like I worked for like 7 years in different kind of productions, big productions. Hollywood, like Jordan, is a main location for Hollywood production, attracting a lot of big movies and also independent European movies. So it was kind of for me a chance to also learn by experience. And then I also felt like, okay, there's still something missing. So I decided to do my master in documentary filmmaking. And this is where I felt like that was kind of the real beginning for me to explore my voice and try to do my own movies and try to understand myself and the world that I live in. So this is kind of like in a brief where how it happened and where I landed.
Yeah, and you see something that I think it's quite beautiful, and it's something that a lot of people, we do not understand. The fact that you've been moving and displaced from place to place, your family, you, and everything that is happening over there. And I want to know, as far as you share right now, with the story of your parents' story, how did that influence the storytellings in your films and the perspective that you have of the world?
Of course, it's all about that. It's all I know. It's all I witnessed and I observed. Not only the story of my family, but also everyone around me as a Palestinian, like we are everywhere, in the diaspora and in the region and everywhere. Like this disaster, starting from the Nakba, has influenced so many lives, including me, of course. So subconsciously, I always find myself trying to understand really what happened to my parents and what happened to this generation and how they carried all this heavy history and trauma. And as a third generation, as me, I wanted to understand who I am, what's my identity, what's happened to my people, what history is trying to erase until this moment. The Palestinian cause since 1948 and from before that has been a struggle until this moment. And history and the world, of course, manipulated this story and manipulated this history and created a big propaganda to change the narrative, as if Palestinians they were not there, as if it was not their land, as if they didn't had a life there. So, of course, I wanted to understand how this invasion and stealing of not only the land, the people's lives and their history, and how it happened. And also for me, it was important to understand also the like what my father witnessed when he was a child. Like he really witnessed how the Israelis killed half of his village. And he carried this trauma all his life, trying to convince us like he managed to deal with that, but we all knew like this is something that marked in everyone's heart, in everyone's personality, in everyone's dreams. Like imagine if they stayed in Palestine and how their life would be. I will not be born in Kuwait. I will be in my land. I will understand more of my identity and I will understand more of who I am. So it is something that I always want to research and understand, and of course reflect on, but not also only in my story, in many people around me, in many stories that I encounter in my life, either in my region or even when I go abroad. Like this is something that we carry, and it doesn't have a border. It doesn't have a limit. It can cross everything. So even when I did Tiny Souls, like Tiny Souls is a story about a family, a Syrian refugee family who flee from the war in Syria and came to Jordan. Of course, for me, the beginning, dealing with these kids, and of course, they are a beautiful family that I had a very strong connection to, first of all, and I didn't had the intention to make a film from the beginning. My curiosity drove me to be there to understand really what was happening, because we were bombarded by the news that was not giving us a clear answer or an idea of what is really happening. And since I was in Jordan and these people were placed in a refugee camp that was 3 hours away from me, I wanted to go to understand what was happening. So Tiny Souls was for me a story that in the middle of the way, I understood why I was there. I understood that most of the stories that my father was telling me translated to images that was just happening in front of me. There was not a big difference, except that now in this refugee camp, there's a lot of NGOs and a lot of support and international interference. At that days, in 1948, there was the UN, another, world agency that's supposed to help people. So I understood like all these images was translated in front of me as a reality that is history is repeating itself. like as if we never learned anything. So, and of course, reflecting on this moment, like we are watching a genocide that has been happening for the past 9 months or 10 months or almost a year. So it's like, yes, of course, displacement is something that we live and witness and share as well. And we need to keep on questioning and reflecting and share these voices and let the world hear them, because this is something that we're not talking about history anymore. We're talking about a present moment that we are living all. And the world is watching it live streaming. So it's not only for a Palestinian, it's a humanity. It's all of us that we share this very tragic, sad moment. So it's a question that not only an artist or a filmmaker that has to raise. It's a question that any human that has a conscious will question and will raise.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Continue, sorry.
no, you go ahead.
It's these things that you're sharing, they're just impressive. I think that we nowadays we know we kind of know what's happening because of the live streams and all of social media and stuff. And the other day I was reading that now everybody, we feel like we are Palestinians in sort of a way, like in supporting. Here in Mexico, there are a lot of movements, a lot of marches and everything supporting uh, the Palestinian community and people, and trying to visualize the situation that's happening and trying to change the narrative of the story. That for all, even in movies you see who the enemies are. Since I was a kid, I remember watching those movies. Now that I'm a grown up and I see this and I talk to people and I watch a lot of movies and stuff, now I realize that story has been obeying this narrative that just affects everybody. Yeah, I think that you say it in a beautiful way. It not just affect the Palestinian people. Uh, it affects everybody. Everybody that identifies itself as a conscious or a human being. You say it in a beautiful way. And talking about tiny souls, I find it a beautiful piece of film, because in a certain way you risked, of course, your life, and you went to a refugee camp. Even in the documentary, you recorded some calls where all the papers that needed to be done just to you be able to be there, right? And the bureaucracy that affects everything in this world, and even like this human aid. I was really mad. I was watching it with a friend, and I was like, I understand this human aid, but that is not life. The fact that there's no water, there's not enough food. If it rains, right, the camp, it gets like flooded and people cannot sleep. That's not a life. That's not that is not fair, right? And you said something in an interview, and you said it also over here right now, that history keeps repeating itself, that these massive and open-air prisons keep repeating itself, just as right now it's happening. Well, it's not right now. It's right now, we know, like the rest of the world, we know, but it has been happening since 1948, as you've been telling. The situation in Gaza, for example, it keeps happening every single day. It keeps happening. And I wanted to ask you, as in your opinion, with your experience, with everything that you've gone through, do you think that films or cinema or art can be used as a peaceful weapon for social movements to change the course of history?
Of course, it is a very strong weapon, but I'm not sure if it can change the history. It can reflect, it can raise awareness, it can raise voices, it can evoke social movement, it can reflect stories, creating human experiences. But I'm not sure if it can change, to be honest, because as you said, like we are following some kind of pattern that keeps repeating itself along the way. It is the human nature that is greed, that is evil, that keeps repeating the same disasters along the way. Of course, cinema is a powerful tool to keep on talking about that, to keep opening the space for the dialogue, to bring the truth a little bit, to counterbalance the propaganda and the colonial narrative, the Western narrative that is keep on imposing on us. So that's why we need to keep producing cinema and we need to tell our stories. But I don't know if it has the ability to change. It can open minds and change perspectives. It can always raise awareness and raise the voices and bring people who are heroes to the front and show them to the world and show the truth. But I really don't know how we can change this. It's just a powerful tool that we need to always keep, but it's a weapon, as you said, that has two edges. How, yes, like it can be used to bring truth, but it also can be used to bring manipulation and propaganda. So this is like exactly the situation we are facing now. And we were facing since the beginning of time, like this region has been colonized since forever. And this colonial narrative has been imposed on us and portraying us as a terrorist, like what we are the fighters, we are the owners of the land. So we will keep on raising our voice and telling our stories, no matter how hard they try to erase this history erase this narrative from our history. So this is our weapon, and we will keep fighting with it.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, it is needed. It is well needed, because now we understand. A lot of people now, we find stories like the ones that you portray, so we can understand better what is happening, because we've been manipulated, at least here in even in my country, right? That we do not suffer from the same things, but we've been, well, colonized and suffer from a little things from the US and other stuff that we know, right? So we understand that part of, we are the fighters and you are the fighters, and history, we hope, needs to change for good. And you said something really impressive. There's a lot of evil in people, there's a lot of evil in the world, a lot of greediness, a lot of, I don't know how to call it, but in one of the interviews that you gave to a festival, I can't remember which interview I saw, you said something really sad but true and beautiful, that I found it actually in Tiny Souls. The fact that it's not only the land, like you said, it's people's life that's been stolen, but also the imagination. And that is brutal, that it's impressive. But even though I understand the fact that you share that, in Tiny Souls, even in the footage that we nowadays we see on the social media, the fact that kids always laugh, always play like in the movie, they even have these romantic situations, right? Like she had the dates that she had. Yeah. How they see the world is just impressive. How did that affected you when you were in the refugee camp and you saw how they build this small world, but even though a tragic world, they I don't know, they happen to see it beautiful also. How did you encounter this situation as an adult and seeing the world through this beautiful kid's eyes?
First, for me, these are true fighters. Their smile, their positivity, their strength and power. This is fighting. This is a true liberation. This is true insisting on to live. This is resilience. This is, for me, everything. This is what was empowering me to keep on going and filming in a very, very hard place. Like, I was the one who was always collapsing, to be honest. I was the one who was always getting sick, getting depressed, like, it was so heavy to exist in this space for 4 or 5 years. But without their strength, I would not be able to continue filming, to be honest, in the refugee camp. But they were the source of my power. They were the source of my positivity. And they changed my perspective and how I see the world. They teach me in no matter how dark the world can be around you, there is light that need to be shown that you can see. So for me, that was like the most beautiful thing that I encountered. And this film really changed me a lot, like changed the way I perceive life. It changed me how I'm grateful for the smallest thing that could happen in my life and not taking anything for granted. Like all these experiences for the past, doing Tiny Souls for 4 or 5 years was very intense period, but it really changed me and teach me so many things about the reality we live in. And of course, Tiny Souls was a film that was very empowering in my eyes, that was very teaching life, let's say. But imagine when I was trying to show it to, for example, to industry people or broadcasters. Like the first comment that I was receiving, oh, your film is very positive. Like we don't see a lot of suffering. I was like, wow. So these people who really judge our films and our stories and decide which film can be broadcast or which film cannot be, these people have these kind of values. These people have these morals, and based on that, they judged our stories. They judge our final films and where this film should be seen. So for me, it always also my first experience to see the bigger world and how our narratives and how our stories are being treated and evaluated. So it was not only a personal experience, but also it was a door for me to see the film industry and how and who decide what and where, based on what. Like it also showed me a bigger system that is not based on any human values and has a certain cards that need to be ticked by any story. So it's far away from cinema, to be honest. But I also learned and I teach myself also how to deal with these kind of situations and how to react to it. But regardless of these encounters that you always face when you do any project, the most important for me was to focus on really like what I discovered in myself in this journey and how I saw the world through it. That was the most important question for me in every project that I do.
Wow, that's impressive. Again, like the darkness of the world, right? The what sells, what doesn't. But yeah, that's why we're trying to create this type of spaces, because every story needs to be told. So if there's a way, maybe at the end of the conversation, if there's a way people can actually watch the film or support your work, please share. Maybe we can leave it at the end so people can just have the information. I actually rented it. I think it was through Vimeo. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's correct. But if you have any other places where people can watch it, or somehow that we can host it in a web page or anything in a couple of months, we'll be really glad and honored to do it
Well,
so people can watch it.
my pleasure to do that, of course.
Yeah, thank you. Talking about Tiny Souls and this fact of the industry and stuff, how have audiences from the Middle East, from outside the Middle East, reacted to the film? I guess some people, like the ones you share right now, it's like, oh, this is quite positive, right? But I believe some more human people
Of course.
reacted in certain ways.
The film released in 2019, and I believe it was after like kind of uh, uh, um, uh, people were displaced and a lot of displaced people also entered Europe. So there was this tension of the perspective of the Western, how to deal with refugees. And I hate to say refugees and I hate this word, but this is unfortunately the term, but I hate it. So it was kind of a tension that the Western world receiving these people and feeling like they are a burden on them and they are stealing their life or their jobs, and or they are not welcomed and they are from a different culture, a different religion, and all of this kind of misperception of these people. So I felt that in Europe, to be honest, a lot. And I felt like when I showed Tiny Souls, people were open to see a different perspective. A lot of audience felt, okay, we relate. I am a father. I am a mother. I have kids. I went through this experience with my kids. I relate to this situation. So it changed their perspective and it brought them closer to see these people who they are, not like what the media is promoting them and how media is portraying them. This is completely a negative, like what the media was trying to do for the past 10 years, portraying these people in a very, very negative way. So when you show them a film that portray a human experience that people can relate to and feel close to, that changed their perspective. Of course, I was receiving some kind of, oh, so why they changed, why they left their land? They should have stayed there. They should fight for, but of course, you will have both. You will see different perspectives and you will have hear different opinions. But the majority felt the empathy to these people and felt like, okay, I have a daughter like Marwa, who's a teenager, and I cannot imagine like her facing these kind of circumstances and put in this hard situation. Like, who can live in a refugee camp like this? No one. So it's a fact that people understand that people go through these very hardship and very disaster and put in a very in a human conditions to live. It's not a life. It's important to show them this. It's important to understand these people. It can be you, it can be me, it can be anyone. These wars happen in a one day and nobody knows where you will end up. So we try, let's open our heart, let's accept each other the way we are, regardless of where we come from and where what's our race and color and religion. In the end, we are humans. So I felt this kind of empathy and I felt like people changed a little bit from their perspective and they were a bit more welcoming because they know where these people coming from and what they've been experiencing. So it's kind of it changed a perspective. It opened a space for a dialogue, I would say. And it was positive, absolutely positive. Of course, like these kids, as much as they were positive and smiling and dealing with life with the strength, you still can see in the film like this small scale of a child point of view, seeing the world and also showing the world and how it is managed and the system and the structure and how things are happening. So you can judge, you can see.
And a lot of people feel identified with that type of stories. You know, even though we're not living exactly the same situation in a political way or whatsoever, as you said, it's like that girl is just a woman, it's just a young woman or even a grown up, and I don't want them to see them. I don't want them, sorry, to suffer like they're suffering. Like we touched. It's a really heartwarming story because you see reflected yourself in every one of them, even though you're not living the exact same situation. And for that, I really wanted to thank you for your courage to do that and the passion that you put on it, because you worked on that for 4 to 5 years, right?
Yeah.
How did you how did you came up with the not with the idea? I understand because you explained before, but how did you enter the refugee camp, and how many weeks or days were you there, because you left their camera for a while and stuff? How did you do that? How did you manage to do that?
Wow, it was very hard to do that. It required a lot of patience. It was required a lot of hard work, to be honest, and not giving up. Like that was the key for me. Of course, because the camp and the management of the camp kept changing, and the process of gaining permissions also changed. So you always have to navigate how to get this permission and how to find it and how to follow up and how to make sure like you get this permission and enter. And along the way, of course, the process changed so many times, and even like the hours that you can enter and when you can go out changed as well. In the beginning, it was longer, it kept shortening until it became like maximum 6 hours or something like that. And if you get late, like I will face some problems. And like there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of tough management. And I was alone and independent. Like I also raised some questions like who is she and what she's doing. So I always had to be honest, find scenarios and find like ways to find myself a way in. It wasn't easy at all. And I tried to reflect on the film, like how this process is very complicated and took so long getting this permission. In the end, I found myself kept away from them. And I was thinking, like, how can I solve this issue? How can I find an alternative? So I thought, okay, maybe I would give camera to Marwa and let her shoot, let her film instead of me, and let's see like what can came up. It was completely an experiment that because I felt like I'm getting blocked and there's no way for me and I have to stay for months and months waiting. So this idea came for me and I was like, okay, no, why not? Let's try that and see what kind of results and how this idea can evolve. And it was actually amazing. It worked out. Like when I took the tapes and I was watching the material, I was like, okay, this is very beautiful. This is very raw and very authentic, and them being totally them expressing themselves away from my presence and away from my camera, because of course my camera presence and me can change things. But now they are alone, being completely themselves. It opened the space for them more for self-expression. And I loved the material and I knew like these material will be included in my narrative one way or another. And it helped me, of course, to keep also close to them and find always ways how to give her the camera, how to take the tapes, where do we read, how we arrange that. Like there's always kind of investigation to find a way to keep this connection. But it wasn't easy at all. Like I was losing hope in so many moments. And suddenly I found myself gaining back this power. Like there was something universal that was really empowering me beyond my ability and my energy and my insisting to be there. There was a higher power, I believe, that was pushing me to exist in that place.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, it's beautiful because if the footage that Marwa took and the one that it's obvious that you took, both were beautiful. I understand that this fact of being you with your camera and stuff, maybe the narrative may change or certain conversations may stopped because it's like there's something recording me. I don't know if I can be that sensitive or that vulnerable, right? But you managed really beautiful to actually do it even when you were the one recording. And I wanted to ask you, how do you approach gaining the trust of your subjects and ensuring their stories are so well told with so much respect, authenticity, and how do you navigate all the sensitive topics and all these sensitive things that happen around all these issues? How do you manage to do that?
I think the key thing was for me time, like giving time and spending time with them, trying to understand them and building this kind of trust and this human relationship. I was not there as a filmmaker and they are my subject. It wasn't the case. I wanted to be there, first of all, to understand and have a better understanding of the situation and trying to see what in my capacity that I could do to change this circumstances And then the idea came that, okay, I will exist and try to document with my camera what is happening and how the life of these three kids that I connected with and they connected with me, and we had this beautiful relationship. How can this evolve to a narrative and in a film? I wasn't sure of that, and I wasn't really 100% know how this would happen. And I was totally experimenting, and I wanted to see how this can evolve. And of course, time is an essential element in creating that space between me and them, and trying always to be careful not to treat them, as I said, like I'm the filmmaker and they are my subject and I need to. That was not the intention and not the workflow of me and not the pressure that I was creating at all. I was letting the reality creating the moment that I was feeling, okay, I can exist now. I can record. Many times that I went to the camp and I spent so many days with them, I didn't open my camera because I know the camera could change the dynamics and can change our relationship. And I didn't want that. I wanted my camera to be a secondary, not my main. So I thought, okay, let me try this approach. And it worked because it wasn't based on this kind of relationship that I wanted to do a film and go. No, I wanted to know you and I want you to know me, and maybe we can do things together. And this is how it happened. And it get evolved along the way. And of course, I don't,
Yeah.
sorry. And I don't want to burn like the end of the film, because the end of the film was exactly for me the turning point of me realizing, okay, no matter what, this material is good, not good, the sound is good, my camera is beautifully framed or not, I will make this film.
Yeah.
Because what happened was for me a shock, and I knew like that wasn't kind of the end that I was expecting,
Yeah.
imagining. And I knew like, okay, that's the turning point. That's the decision. Maybe before that, there was a bit of a hesitation, I would say, but that was kind of the moment that I made the decision. Okay, let's do this film.
Well, I think that's a gift to the world, your film, Tiny Souls. I really encourage people to watch it. I was just blown away by the way you managed it, by the story's kids. Um, really, really, I want to encourage people to watch it and to understand others people reality, that at the end it's our reality too, right? Because we're I think that we're just one soul here, and that we come to experience something in this earth. And your story is like mine in somehow, in some way, and your documentary just portrays exactly that. And it's a fantastic, fantastic work. Um, I reflecting on your career, and I have only the chance to watch Tiny Souls and Sukun, and but I understand that you have, of course, other short films and works and stuff. And reflecting on the type of cinema and stories that you portray, that you work on, are there any particular moments or projects specifically that stand out as meaningful or transformative for you?
All of them. All of them. Of course, every journey is a transformative journey for me. Not only to know and understand myself and my psychology and my existence in this world, but also the world I live in. Like Sukoon, for example, was a very, very special journey, because Sukoon is my first experience to enter to the fiction world. And the story is based on a true story. And the journey of making this film was not only making a film, it opened for me a world to a community that I didn't know about and I connected with very strongly. I would say, like briefly, Sukun, what is about, it's a short film about a young athlete who is a karate player who is deaf, who gets subjected to a painful incident in her karate center. And she takes us into a journey of dealing with this pain until she arrives to a moment where she empowered herself. So the lead actress in the film was truly a deaf girl. who the first time she acts, she is profoundly deaf. This is her first experience to appear on camera. And Malak, her name is Malak. Malak belongs to the deaf community in Jordan. She took me and introduced me to a community that I was blown away of how much they are sincere and true and positive, and also how much they are marginalized in the society. So in the beginning, I was searching for a character that is a deaf who could play a karate. Of course, I researched all the karate centers in my country, and I discovered there's a division. You will never find a disabled person in a place where people are able with to practice any kind of sport. So there's a complete division between the two worlds. So that was completely a shock for me to see this kind of reality. Like a deaf person who can practice or play karate can be included in a karate center with a hearing individuals, because that wouldn't affect either the practice or the ability to learn. So we changed our strategy and we looked for a deaf girl who we chose to train her and put her in the center for 3 or 4 months. So until she really arrived to a higher level in the sport. So of course, we searched again and again to find a center who can accept a deaf girl to be trained in the center. It was very challenging to find, and in the end, we find a lady who has a center who felt so empathic with our story and our character, and she hosted her, and she gave her like 4 or 5 months of training intensively, and she was really an amazing person. But this is like very rarely to find, like the structure is built on this kind of division. And once we finished the film and build the whole process around the film, like we training her on karate, training her on acting, because this is her first time, taking our crew and production crew to the community and introducing what is filmmaking and how we are making films, and them teaching us the protocol of how to deal with a deaf person and how to sign and how to pronounce your names and how to read your lips, and all this kind of protocol was amazing for us and for our crew and for the community to be exposed to something that they will never be exposed to, how to make a film. So because we built this connection and this trust with the community for the past 3 years, we designed to take our role outside of the film and bring our knowledge and tool and create something for their benefits. We designed a platform for them called Heard, Masmua, for them to create a content that can be online and educational entertainment for the hearing and non-hearing world to be connected through this platform. So for them to be engaged, to feel they are included in this world, to feel they are heard. So we try always to take our project outside from creating just a film. How can we bring more to the table? And we also know we are designing to bring the first deaf cinema club in Jordan, where we collect friends, films, we translate them to sign language, and then we present them to the deaf community, because we learned how much they don't know anything about this world. The only information they receive is through this news, 8 p.m. news, like this small square that is in the corner of the screen that is completely not totally visible for them. For a deaf person to understand fully, you have to film them like from the head to the knees. It's a body language. So we try to open this world a little bit, make them more exposed to the world and what is happening in the world around them through, again, using the power of film for them to really feel included and create an inclusive environment and a safe environment for them to reflect and discuss and watch films and invite the filmmakers and create a Q&A to live this experience, because cinema is for all. It's not only for us hearing people, it's for everyone. So we always try to work beyond the structure of making a film, because a film has an impact And we as artists and filmmakers can bring this impact more closer and stronger to our communities.
Wow, this thing that you're sharing is just amazing because it doesn't just have a beginning, it also have a continuity with this community that you were forming, that of course the world is not made for people with uh you know I don't know how to say it properly, audition, I don't know, this capability, I don't know how to say it, because here in Mexico there's a fight against those types of words or expressions, but I don't know if in English there's a more respectful way of saying it, but the world is not made for them, and that is also not fair. So the fact that the short film, it's not just a short film, but that you're creating this community where they feel reflected on other stories, or they feel like they're part of something bigger, because they're humans too, because they have stories too, and because they deserve to be part of it. It's just amazing. Actually, I watched the short film uh like an hour before, because I want to have a more fresh look on it, and it's amazing the way that you manage your team, and how you manage to uh, get involved, the ones that we have, that we hear, like the hearing people, like you said. How can we understand how she lives, the fact that the world pauses once she takes off her aiding, I don't know
Hearing.
how yeah, thank you, the hearing aid, yeah. The fact that the world just, it doesn't stop for her, but it just, she just lives in inside her world, even when she's taking the bath after the thing happened, and she's cleaning her ears. You can feel the empathy and the pain that she has, and how she becomes this superhero, finding the courage in herself. Do you base this story in a true story, or is it a story that you created from the beginning?
No, this actually story based on a true story.
Okay.
And part of it, a huge part of it, based on a true story that I heard. And
Okay.
actually, as we put the script, we decided to create a focus group with mental health experts, psychologists, victims, men and women, to really understand how these stories happen and how people respond to these kind of traumas. So through these kind of focus groups, we shared so many stories and we opened so many doors, and we've been receiving a lot of stories from people around us, like opened up for us and shared their pain and trauma, as if we really didn't expect that, but we discovered like there's so many stories and stories from people around us, but nobody talks about these kind of things. Of course, we are in Jordan, it's a conservative society, and these kind of topics are a taboo, but you cannot believe, once we opened a little bit that door, like everybody was sharing their pain. Everybody was sharing what happened to them when they were kids, not only in school, in the street, in the sport space, and crazy stories. And the crazy, also the painful one, like these kind of sexual harassments happen from the close people around you, from the people who you trust or your parents trust. It's like, so everybody was sharing with us their stories and pain after this focus group, and after listening from victims, men and women. Like, not only women are targeted, but also men face these incidents as much as women, by the way. But we raise our kids to be strong and not to cry, and not, so they don't share, they don't talk. So we encourage this film was for us to encourage, like for me, create or choosing my character as a deaf was not because I want to talk about the disability. It was my mind trying to talk about it in a very symbolic way, about the collective silence that we live in dealing with our pain and trauma. I was never, my intention to talk about the disability. It wasn't at all. It came very, very further step. But the first, how can I talk about the silence? How can I talk about our collective silence? How can we highlight the things that we need to talk about to open that safe space for us to reflect and share? That was kind of my main intention. And then things translated in choosing a deaf person who's unable to speak or hear, who chooses to be isolated. This hearing aid is a very symbolic way of me trying to say, I want to be, please let me be included in your noise, in your activities, in your voice, in your sounds, or let me be in my silence and my isolation that is more quiet and more peaceful than this reality, the reality that is full of pain and full of negativity and full of
Violence. Yeah.
violence, exactly, violence.
Now that you say that, I think that it's I don't know if, well, now I understand that you did it on purpose, but when the incident is happening, that scene where he unplugs it, now I understand a little bit more the meaning. Like if you don't listen, if no one listens, it doesn't. It didn't happen, right? This theory that if no one saw it, no one heard about it, no one talks about it, then nothing happened. And well, now the short film is much more impressive for me. It's a really hard topic, but it's a truth that happens. Actually, I don't know if in Jordan it happens this way, but here in Mexico, people do not even say the words like they need to say, right? It's just, no, it didn't happen. No, he was being kind. He was being
Yeah.
loving, right? Even we do not talk about the parts. Like we do not. We teach people and kids since we're kids. We teach that saying the correct sexual organs, for example, their specific names is like a sin, right? It's a bad word. And then when these kids grow up, if some of they do, because some of they, well, they don't sadly, um, they cannot explain what happened because now they find a lot of guilt even
Exactly.
explaining what happened in their body, right? So I think that you portrayed it in a beautiful and of course hard way. And the fact that it's something that is happening in the world is something that we need to stop it somehow. And I think that this type of short films and stories can help to visualize that, to understand that certain behaviors of the kid, like the mom, she was insisting that what is happening, that you have this attitude, and at the end, well, we know what happens. I don't want to spoil everyone. I want them to watch it, but sadly the reason becomes something else that it wasn't even related, right? We have a question here in the chat that I wanna ask you about it. It's from Lucia Castanedo. She's a really friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. She asks, how do you protected the child actor to not be affected by the portraying of the trauma?
Of course, it was a long process with the character. First, of course, her consent and her family about the story and the incident, all of that. And we had many sessions with her discussing this specific scene, not rehearsing it. We didn't rehearse it at all. We created the whole environment around it. And we built this very strong relationship between her and the coach, the portrayer. So they already built this kind of relationship off screen, understanding the sensitivity of this topic, understanding the responsibility as well, like of doing this very intense scene, but how much it's important to raise awareness. Like Malak is a very smart girl. Like for her doing this film with this kind of intensity, she knew along the way like how much the story is important because she belongs to a community that is very targeted as well. Like people, sick people who intend to do such an act, they target people with disabilities more because they know they cannot defend themselves, they cannot talk about it, they cannot report it because they also live in the shame culture, the shame of shame culture. So if you talk, it's you are the guilty, you are the blame one,
You
you don't
provoked it.
provoke it,
Yeah.
you. So the whole thing comes to on the victim. So she understand this, and she understand the culture, and she understand how her friends are targeted. And while we were doing the film, some of her friends actually opened to Malak and told her, like, this happened to me, and I was subjected to this kind of incident, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't tell anybody. And Malak took the role to really encourage and empower her and speak up and, give all these kind of advices. So she is definitely older than her age. Her awareness is bigger than her, and her understanding of the importance of this story is the most important. And for her to accept to do this film is kind of a priority number one for her, to raise awareness and to defend her community, the deaf community, and trying to protect them, so anybody would be subjected to this kind of incident will at least know how to react, how who to speak up, and how to not to feel ashamed of themselves. That was kind of the most important thing. For the first screening we did was for the community. These are the first people who watched the film, and we opened this conversation. And it was a very sensitive moment, and everybody felt like, wow, that's so intense for us to watch. Plus, they are very conservative, but they showed so much openness, and they showed so much awareness, like, wow, this is exactly what kind of awareness we need to bring, not only among us, but also to the world. So we did as well, like, some kind of psychological preparation for her, like this kind of touching, this kind of interaction. We played as well a lot of exercises that can build up to this moment between her and the coach. So we did everything in our capacity to build around this intensity of the scene, but we never rehearsed it. We wanted both of them to really feel the first interaction, how it will happen, and for us to capture it, and afterwards guiding it. And there's moments that Malak will come to me and tell me, like, Dina, was not good. I want to do it another time. The character has to feel so many different feelings. She has to be confused and angry and felt like she was betrayed. And then she will arrive to a moment where she will defend herself. So she was able to understand that she has to deliver all these kind of emotions in less than 40 seconds. So I was very blessed to have this encounter with this girl, because she is a super talented uh, um, girl, and I know for a fact that the future will wait for her, will give her a lot of opportunities, and I hope that, because she deserves that. So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
I do think that you did. Let's see what Lucia uh, answers, but just to keep on going. Oh, yeah, Lucia says, yeah, it's great. Thank you, Lucia, for participating. If you have any other questions, please just start writing. We're reaching towards the end of the conversation. Thank you, Dina, for your time. I hope you're having a good time
Right.
sharing with us.
Thank you.
Is there any way that we can support the film or the cause or this initiative of this community that you're doing and so on? Is there any way that, I don't know, people may watch the film in first hand, and in second hand, if there is somehow people can donate or help anyway, or not?
Like, of course, the help that we can receive is just to raise the awareness and try to connect with this community. First of all, they have a platform, as I said, on Instagram called Sunbird. So as much as we can interact with them, as much as we can share with them their stories, they are really want to know about the world. So for them to get to expose about stories from Mexico will be something very interesting and important. And I think, of course, I would love to receive stories from Mexicans to share with them. That would be very interesting, and also an exposure to a country that they don't know a lot about. So any stories or films that anyone would like to share with us, we can take the film, translate it to sign language, and send you a copy of the film translated to sign language,
Wow.
and you can share it with your community as well.
Yeah, of course, that would be a beautiful gift. I think that we can do that. We can collaborate in that way, and in so many others, of course. But of course, it would be beautiful. Lucia says Dina is incredibly inspiring, and so are her stories. Thank you so much to her and to you for opening the conversation. No, thank you to Dina. Well, we're reaching towards the end. And I have a few questions. If I could ask you for 4 more hours, but you need to sleep and to rest.
Please go
But
ahead.
I wanted to ask you something that well, I know you have these questions beforehand, but in your view, what role do filmmakers and artists play in raising awareness and fostering understanding about specifically the Palestinian genocide and, similar humanitarian crises like the Congo right now is happening also, right? Um, what role do you think that filmmakers and artists play in raising this type of awareness?
Of course, they can play an important and a huge role in raising the voice of the truth, in reflecting on the reality that everybody's trying to silence and everybody's trying to hide. As an artist or as a talented filmmaker, you can always reflect on your work about a reality that you feel, even if you're a Palestinian or you're not. You're a human, and we have shared this human values. This is a cause or a reality that if it touches your heart, and if you feel like this is something that you can raise awareness about, that you can speak up, always raise the truth, always raise the voices of the people who are tried to be silenced by the whole world, by the big powers in the world now, the media, the manipulation, the politician, the bureaucracy. There's a huge fight that we can, as an artist and filmmakers, we need to fight through our films, through our art, through our voice, through our existence, through our speaking up in everything. Everything you can do will make a difference. Everything you can do will make a difference. Don't be silent. Speak up all the time. Speak up, raise the awareness, bring the dialogue, open safe space to share what is happening. Go to the street, go to create conversations, create panels, show stories, show histories. There's so many things that you can do. Don't stop, please.
Yeah, that's I think that's a beautiful thought that you're sharing with us, because I was researching about other Palestinian filmmakers and stuff, and it's not that easy to contact them or to have a back and forth conversation like it was with you. So thank you for that. But in one of them, I can't remember her name. She was saying that even in this specific niche about filmmaking, even in a lot of film festivals, a lot of Palestinian stories are being banned. Have you experienced something like that? If you don't want to share, like specifically, of course, the name of the festival, if you do, please do. You're safe here. But have you experienced something like that?
Honestly, I didn't experience that directly. Of course, I attended a few festivals that I felt like existing there as a Palestinian was something that is not acceptable, and something that is receiving so many questions and weird looks, and vibe that is completely against my existence, because I'm always wearing my kufiya, I'm always wearing my identity. This is who I am, and I'm here to talk about what is happening. If you want to listen, please come, let's talk. If you don't, you cannot stop me. But I didn't face a direct, like,
That's
stop.
yeah. Mhm.
No, I was, for example, in Berlinale, and Berlinale was a very political festival, and of course, like, Germany is one of the countries that is supporting the genocide,
Yep.
and they like we are there. We are there. We will never speak. We will never stop speaking about what is happening in our home country. Of course, we want to show our film and engage with it, but we are exist there as a Palestinian first, then as filmmakers. So either you accept us the way we are, or we don't participate in your festival. But actually, they didn't. They were like opening the space for us to express ourselves. They didn't try to stop us or ban us or
Mm-hmm.
no, I didn't feel that, to be honest. I felt that in the people in the festival more than the management of the festival at this time. That was my personal experience. Of course, like also the festival could have done much more in
Yeah.
really acknowledging what was happening. We were the ones who were trying to push and push and push for that. But I know as a festival, as a cultural event, a cinematic, artistic, you can always make a statement and acknowledge what is happening into the world.
Yep.
They didn't. They didn't do that, but they didn't stop us at the same time.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact, like we are not in a moment where you can be neutral. You can be on that side, we are that side. But we are in Germany and we all know what does that mean.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact, like a lot of people, friends, filmmakers who are trying to make films now about Palestine, they cannot raise funds. They are not, they are censored. They want to impose the Western colonial narrative on us. These stories don't match what their agenda wants. So there is a huge struggle in trying to fund these kind of stories,
Yeah,
trying
of
to
course.
producers, co-production, all of that, because of course, no, not a lot of people or institutions or systems want to push for our narratives to be present and to be heard.
Yeah, of course.
Are facing the opposite. So there is stories like that from people that I know that are suffering and facing so many struggles to push for their stories to be made. We know that funding now is a very sensitive and very political as well. And there's a colonial narrative in pushing our stories to be shallow and on the surface and not really go deeper in our narratives and history and our stories basically. Um, there's like challenges in everything, like not only to make a film, to exist a Palestinian now is a big challenge.
Yeah.
To use your voice is a big challenge. To keep your job and trying to do your work and raise your voice to the truth is a challenge. Like you are threatened to lose everything if you want to speak up.
Yep.
And this is what we've been witnessing that has happening all over the world. Like how
Yep.
many people lost their jobs for them to because they stand with the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Yani, the stories are endless. The situation we all are aware of, and we know what is happening, but this will never stop people who are being true to themselves and people who imagine a better world. I don't think they will ever stop in raising their voice or pushing for their work to be exposing such a reality that everybody wants to hide.
Yeah. We need to come forward and we need to unite because what you're saying is quite true. I believe that specifically speaking about the filmmaking industry, the fact that most of the international, most recognized film festivals are not portraying like uh, a specific narrative or opening more spaces. I think it let us know where the preferences or the political interests are, right? Like we saw it in Cannes. I mean, I love that festival, of course, but when you see that they start banning artists that they're just using the Palestinian flag colors in their outfits, just like Kate Blanchett did for a few seconds, right?
Yeah.
They started to get banned or they didn't let people go with I mean just signs. They're just freaking signs, right? It's just a space because I believe cinema cinema is political at the end.
Of course it
and,
is.
and we need to use those spaces, but I love what you said. If those spaces are not giving all these truths a safe space, we need to build them. We need to keep fighting for it. And I think it's really hard, even for this virtual talk. The so-called algorithm, it bans, you know,
Of course.
it's impressive. It's impressive, the reach that you have in the post where you talk about whatsoever you want to talk, and it's fine. But as long as you use the colors or the hashtag ceasefire or so, it's impressive
Yeah,
how
it wants to silence you. It wants to stop you from saying the truth. You know, we arrived to a moment in history like all these masks has been falling and all the
yeah,
lies has been
yeah.
exposed. And you cannot come and tell and preach about freedom of speech or human rights or blah, blah, and then you do not do anything
Anything.
about it.
No.
Zero. So there's the conversation changed now. I cannot trust an institution. I cannot trust a film festival. I cannot trust a cinematic space who do not acknowledge the most important and horrific crisis at the
Yeah,
moment in history.
yeah,
So I will not buy this, and nobody will.
yeah,
So this kind of white and black is so there's no neutral. You cannot be neutral. You
yeah,
are on that side or in that side. And let's face it, and be true to yourself. That's the most important. Don't try to manipulate. Don't try to sell lies. Don't try to put masks because now it's all exposed. All these masks has been fallen, and
yeah,
we know the truth now.
yeah,
We know the truth, and we know how to move forward. This is the most important thing. Like everybody changed, you and me, the whole world changed.
yeah.
Like we know how to where we exist, where how to eat, what to buy, what to film, where the money is. We question all kind of questions that we never used to
Question
do.
before. Yeah,
So this is an important shift. This is a great shift, in my opinion, that will build on until we really arrive to a moment we really be able to change this ugly world because it is so ugly and
yeah,
dark at the moment, very
yeah,
dark. But I believe now, if we collectively kept on raising this consciousness and we collectively worked and we never stopped speaking about the truth,
yeah.
arrive to that place. No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't.
Yeah, the truth is always coming to the surface. And that's it. It's impressive. Now I see it, like in the news and everything. The narrative is just so different. But you just go on TikTok and watch, the stories of in that moment. Like, I know there's a lot of more people, but Busan or Motaz and everyone, and they just live stream the massacre that's happening, and you cannot lie about that. You cannot act like that, right? So yeah, what you're saying, I also think that this is going to be a huge shift. It's a shame that it costs so many lives, but I think that I don't know if there are more good people in the world than evil right now. I don't know, but I think the good is always gonna come forward, and it's our work to do it. So I will do four more questions.
Yeah, sure.
Well, if you can.
Sure.
Um, I say this one is long, so I'm gonna read it because once I sent it to you, I thought like, oh, that's a good question, but I don't want to miss any word. As a filmmaker who has had the opportunity to travel to different parts of the world, what do you think we people outside the Middle East reality and history and situations and stuff, what are we missing or what are we failing to understand about the current atrocities? And how do you believe that we can unite and raise our voices together to make this a bigger movement?
To first to understand really the truth and the history and what really happened to Palestine. That's the major question that everybody needs to search and understand and read. And now, since like since for the past 76 years, like there's so many work about the Palestine and the Palestinian cause and what happened to this land and the people. And of course, like raising this awareness and opening safe spaces for people to gather and share created this dialogue. There's so much manipulation and brainwashing that I think everybody arrived to a point where he realized, okay, I'm brainwashed as well. You are brainwashed. So we need to understand the scale of that and how can we really dig deeper in trying to understand some kind of a truth. That the truth is not there. You have to put an effort for you to find, because it was erased, it was not written, everything. Even Google is against us. The maps are against us. So it's an effort that people should do, collectively should work, joining so many people who are collectively working for the cause, trying to raise awareness, trying to even reading books together to understand poetry, to understand really the stories of the people. This is by itself will change your perspective, will let you know what really happened and how you were manipulated and brainwashed for you not to understand this fact or not to understand this truth. So it is your personal effort for you to first cleanse yourself from whatever until now you've been taught, that erase it and build your own perspective. That's the most important. Build your own conclusion, build your own research, and go look for the truth, because they put a lot of effort to hide it from you. So you really need to do that for yourself.
Rebuild ourselves.
Exactly. Rebuild yourself, rebuild your vision, rebuild your understanding of the world you live in. Not only about Palestine, but also Palestine is something that has a rebel effect on so many countries and so many stories. So it is not by itself. It is a very symbolic way for you to understand where do you live and who controls this world and how this power dynamic is happening.
Yeah.
What happens in Palestine is happening in so many other countries who are not being exposed, who are not being portrayed in the media. Injustice is everywhere.
Yeah.
Not only in Palestine. It's happening everywhere in this world.
Yeah.
So, and we need to know how to really understand how it works and how it affects us and how we can help in any way that we can. And speaking up is the minimum you can do.
Yeah. Speak up. Don't be neutral. That thing, that is just, I think that is one of the main things that I take from this virtual talk. Never be neutral against or yeah, according to these situations or among the situations, you cannot be neutral, because being neutral is having actually a side, right?
Of course.
It speaks volumes. Yeah.
There's no side in the truth, like either. It's the truth. It's not. So you decide where you want to be on which side, and you decide how you, if you want to let them manipulate you or brainwash you or really program you the way they want.
Yeah.
Also,
it's a choice. Now that you know that you're being brainwashed and stuff, now you're choosing if you do not change, right? And I would like to ask at the end of the talk, maybe through DM or mail, whatever you feel it's more suitable for you, if you could share with us some other Palestinian or Jordan artists that are speaking about this type of thing, so we can share maybe poetry, as you said, literature, certain books or stuff that we can look for it. I think it would be amazing, so we can rebuild our brain and stop being brainwashed with this political sides and stories that have been telling us in every single movie now that we see, right? Did I wanna, yeah, exactly, this world. I wanna change a little bit? Well, it's not like a huge change because it's about you, but what impact do you hope your films will have in the future? What do you dream of with your stories?
I think I wish I always to create a human experience that can really resonate, that can really change you in a way, that can open your perspective and show you other kind of realities, that can really stays, you know, a story that can stays, that can resonate, that can change your mind and perspective, that maybe can have an impact on your life or change you in a way, or open a door in your mind, or a perspective that they will not expect. Something powerful, something emotional to land on you. I don't know films if they can change. I think it's a way to reflect. It's a way to transmit facts or emotions, but I'm not sure if it can change, as I said previously, but it can really transcend an emotional experience, transform a human experience to another. This is how we all connect, and this is how we discover that we all the same and we are not different, because we all live this a human
Human
experience,
experience, yeah.
no matter where you are, no matter where you come from. This is what really connect us as humans. These small human experiences that we all can feel, we can relate to each other, and we can understand each other through these experiences, and we can feel empathy to each other through these experiences. These kind of stories that I would love to create, this kind of experience that I want my audience to have when they watch my movies. An emotional journey that can resonate in your heart, because everything starts from the heart and ends in the heart. So not the mind. For me, it's here in the heart. So if I'm able to really reach your heart, then maybe I am able to really change something in your heart and in your way, in the way you see other humans or the world we live in. And maybe you will find a way to contribute. This is a way for me to communicate with the world. I consider myself not a very good person in expressing myself, and maybe I do films to find this
Your
bridge
voice, yeah.
between my voice, my bridge between me and the world. So I try to use films as this is my tool, this is my voice, this is the way I express myself, this is how I share my worries and what I'm thinking about to the world.
Yeah.
So I really wish and I hope that my films can create and transmit these my experiences to the world. And maybe this is how we can exchange and really build a dialogue around whatever we wanted to talk about, and really change ourselves first.
Yeah,
And
that's the first change that we need to do before
and
trying to change the world, right?
and then we change the world.
Yeah.
So it's just a way for me to express myself and create an experience that I can share with the world, with the audience, with everyone.
That's fantastic, and you will do it for sure. I mean, you've done it at least with me. I'm being sincere here. You have a beautiful way to tell these stories, and I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to those aspiring filmmakers who are passionate about either creating or documenting complex political and social situations?
I think what I tell myself, I will tell them. Like, I always tell myself, never give up. Like, if you wanted to do something, don't give up. Try until you either do it or not, but at least keep on trying. That's kind of a message for myself, always I tell, and people who want to do movies are the hardest thing. that I've ever done in my life.
Mhm.
It is a beautiful experience that feeds my soul, but
Mhm.
also a very hard experience that has so many obstacles and challenges and ups and downs and instability that is very beautiful to me. So it's a crazy journey that you put yourself in, but it changes you and it makes you grow, and it also transcend and a message to the world that also make them grow and change. So it is a very powerful, magical tool that we have. It's just that it's also full of obstacles and challenges that if you don't have the patience or if you stop trying,
Mhm.
you will stop. So it's very important that you don't stop and you always find ways to make it happen. Regardless of the structure of the film industry and how things are drawn for you to do
Mhm.
things, there's always an alternative way for you to do it.
Mhm.
Cannes is a bigger festival, but if your film didn't get to Cannes, that doesn't mean your film is a bad film. You know, if you don't get this opportunity, that doesn't mean that. These kind of understandings and perceptions that I've been receiving along the way,
Mhm.
it is something that I gained through experience. It's something that I gained through the people I encountered, the people I know, the people who judge who's good and bad, who deserve to get funding or not. All of these games, I would say, and bureaucracy. It is a very huge role from stopping you, but there's always a way for you to do things in your own authentic voice, in your own raw way of making things. And that's the beauty for me in cinema, like creating an experience that is very true and authentic and raw, that you can feel from the first image that this is something that, wow, it touches my heart. It stays with me. It is very true. It is very raw. This is for me the truth, the true cinema that stays in my heart, that I sleep and I think about the film after a year, that I remember scenes from it. That means that's a good film. That means that's a really strong story that stays in me. And this is what matters. This is in my personal opinion, that what matters.
That's a beautiful, beautiful advice. Never give up and seeking the truth always, also, right? Your truth. And it's a beautiful, beautiful uh, thought that you're sharing with us. And are you working right now in any other film project, future, uh, I don't know, documentary, or are you just doing a film tour towards Sukun for the
I
both of us?
Now, although I'm still like a bit busy with school, but in the same time, I'm trying to write a documentary. I think it can be an experimental. Like I'm a person who doesn't really stick to one genre. I always, in
Yeah.
every project, I try to experiment. I try to explore different worlds that I didn't enter yet. And I think this is very exciting for me to do things every time in a different way, and try to find different techniques and different way to find my voice in the end. So this time I think, I don't know yet. This is like a very, very early stage to know where this is going to, but I think this is going to, it's happening in around an experimental kind of documentary that I'm writing slowly, and I'm trying to see where it will take me. And that's it. And Sukun is taking, yes, some of my time, and the Deaf Cinema Club that is by the end of the year, like, will be much active. Then this is my plan until the end of the year, so I can really finish something and try to release and create a space for something new to grow. I cannot be like I need to finish and release and make a
Yeah.
space and heal and reflect,
Yeah.
and then create a space for something else to grow.
Yeah, of course. You need your process for
I
every
know,
and each of
absolutely. It
your
is a
projects.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it requires a lot of energy. and I admire you for that. Well, once you have anything, you are welcome to share it with us if you're pleased, if you want. Here's a platform, and it's we're a small festival yet in terms of community or size, or I don't know how to explain it. But we have a huge intention. We want to create a movement, a political, philosophical, social movement towards all these beautiful perspectives, like women like you. So it would be great, even if you're up to host you here, but in Mexico, if you would like, it would be amazing.
My
It would
pleasure.
be it would be an honor for us. So we can later talk about that. Maybe not for this edition that it's in November, maybe for next year or something. But this is your this is your safe place. Your safe place. This is your home. Here in Mexico, we are really drawn into your stories, as a culture, as a country, and we're supporting a lot all the cause from our end, right? Because we cannot do much, but we're here for you, and we will be really happy to host you and other artists that you believe that can be or are gonna feel good talking about their truths, about their stories. And at last, the last question that I want to ask you, just to finish with this beautiful virtual talk. As an Arab woman in the film industry, what do you think that it needs to be done to reduce the gender gap and keep creating more opportunities for women in the industry?
I think empowering women is the first thing. Like, we need to see women in taking power, in making decisions, in drawing strategies. This presence is very essential, to have a space for women in all of it, not only in the cinema industry, but also in the social structure and the political structure. It all feeds each other. So for me, like, the first thing is empowering women to exist in these powerful positions and bring women voices to the table. That's the most important, I believe. And of course, creating more opportunities for women in the film industry, accepting them that they have a special way in telling their narratives and telling their stories, is also one of the things that is empowering. Creating more opportunities and giving more funding opportunities for women to tell their stories is also essential. That also fosters the conversation that pushes for women to exist and have a voice and have a presence as well in decision making. That's the most essential for me, for women to really. And I believe recently there's a huge shift in that. Like, I can see most of the films that have been watched recently are from women, and they are reaching through the world, and they are receiving awards, and they are existing in big scale festivals, and all of that are women. So there is a shift in that, and there is a shift in the way that the world is perceiving the narrative of women. So I believe that shift is happening, and it's growing slowly. Making film is hard on both men and women, I believe. But of course, women, their obstacles and challenges and are different, let's say, not bigger or much. Are different because of the nature of us is different. So, but I'm happy to see that that shift is happening. I know it is happening slowly, but it happens when we shift the mentalities, when we change the perspective. These shifts, when it happens here, it will be reflected in all sectors, socially, industry, film industry, politically, and everything. So this shift is happening, but it's happening slowly, I would say.
Yeah, but we're moving forward. We're fighting too. We are fighters together. We're fighters. Dina,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your beautiful time. We reached almost 100 minutes of this conversation. I really appreciate your time, your art, your voice, and your disposition to participate with us. I am not no joking when I'm inviting you to keep in touch and doing collaborations together from Mexico with Jordan and everything that you're doing. If you need anything from our end, we're happy to host you again, to be with you, and to support you. As Paulina here in the chat says, we support you. And thank you so much for your time, for your art. Is there anything else you want to say goodbye to the people into this virtual conversation?
Thank you all for listening. I really felt like it is a safe space, and I felt like I'm really speaking my heart and I'm sharing what I'm going through. So thank you for creating such a beautiful, safe space for us to exist in. And it was really a pleasure to have this conversation with you, Nina, and I look forward really to find ways to collaborate and bring both our stories together. This is the most important that we can share.
We will sure do. Is there any place, webpage where people can follow your work?
Of course, I don't have a web page, unfortunately,
Don't
but
worry.
I have pages for my films. Like I have a page for Tiny Souls, I have
Okay.
page for Spoon Amplified, and I have page for Miss Moa, and my Instagram, of course. I will share all of that with you, and I will share the Vimeo link for Tiny Souls. Sukun is not there anymore, not yet, sorry, but it will be starting from next year, so people can also watch it. And I will share with you like all these links and informations and artists that I think is also for you to share their stories and films with you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It would be a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone. Now you can go and rest and keep creating and have a really beautiful, beautiful day and blessed rest of the week, dear Dina.
Thank you so much, Dina. Nina. Thank you so much.
We're almost the same name.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. The pleasure was mine. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.